It's one thing to move to another country, but there's another thing that happens after you've been here for a while and the honeymoon phase actually wears off. And one thing that nobody tells you about is what to expect after you've settled down in Serbia. And today we're going to run through a number of things that you're going to want to be prepared for after the honeymoon phase has weared off and the thrill of moving to another country and the dust has settled has actually been removed. And these are things that, people will find to be more difficult to endure than other people. And some people who have moved here on their own have found out that it's very difficult to navigate some of these obstacles, especially if you don't have a team such as Relocation Serbia here at your back to help you navigate some of these obstacles. This is what we've seen with a lot of our clients. We have a client actually that has been in Serbia for 6 years and is still under the temporary residency process. And the reason being is that because they have decided to try and pursue their residency and permanent residency on their own. They've purchased a house, they've bought vehicles, they've learned the language, yet for some reason they can't transition from temporary residency into permanent residency, and that's because they've been given wrong information. They've gone out to their neighbors and asked for their advice, and people that have lived in Serbia all their life, they don't know, and by no fault of their own, what the processes are, what the legal challenges are, and when you're dealing with government officials, do they actually know how to do their job as well? Now, that brings me to the first point, that the bureaucracy here in Serbia will test your patience if you don't know what you're doing. And even us here at Relocation Serbia and our lawyers and our whole team here, we also have to endure this, but the beautiful thing is that because our team knows the laws, we speak the language, we can kind of get our point across a lot more efficiently than if it was someone to come here that does not speak the language and they're dealing with an official that just wants to kind of brush them off and, get them to come back another day so that they don't have to deal with them. It's what happens here, and so that's something that we try and remove that burden from our clients. Now, the administrative process can be slow and inconsistent. Like I just mentioned, a lot of them don't know what their business, their job is, and they got that job because of who they know and not what they know. Expect multiple trips to government offices for paperwork. One of the phrases that we use here in Serbia is that you're always one paper short. And you'll get to all the paperwork that you think is needed for your process to be completed. However, you get to the official and they're going to be like, oh, you're missing this paper. Meanwhile, it doesn't say it on their website. It's not asked by law. And so you have to now either order that paperwork in from the country that you came from or scramble through all the paperwork that you have at home to find that one piece of paper or actually go to another government office to obtain that paperwork. Now, the hiring a local consultant or lawyer also can streamline your process, but also they can hinder your process. A lot of our clients have come to us where they've gone and sought another lawyer or another consulting firm out there and said, hey, listen, they did absolutely nothing but take our money and then provide zero service, or they didn't finish their job and we're asking for more money after we paid them in full. And that's something that is unfortunately common to some of these other agencies out there, other lawyers that do this type of work. And I'm not going to put out any names out there, but for instance, we have a client that moved into Belgrade. They hired a lawyer, they paid them. That lawyer at that time spoke English to them, not a problem. But then once that lawyer got their money, they started speaking Serbian and refused to speak English and made it such a very drastic, painful process, which they eventually just left that money on the table and moved on and ended up coming to us, and we were happy to assist them. And it's unfortunate that they had to pay twice to someone to actually perform the services that they were paid for. One pro tip for when you come to Serbia is that you always bring extra copies of your paperwork. So that's like live birth records, marriage certificates, driver's license, your education that you've had in your home country. Make sure you bring multiple original copies, because that's something that the government officials are going to be asking for. They do not want copies of your originals. Number two is that in Serbia, it's a very much a word of mouth economy. So it's a lot about who you know and not what you know. And so personal connections are more effective than actual official channels. Finding rentals and fast tracking some documents and hiring services is also done on referrals. So, rentals, for instance, it's who you know here, not what you know. Sometimes there's ways to work around that, the system in place, and that's what we help our clients with. And expat groups and local connections are always invaluable. So if you know someone who's already moved to Serbia and you can connect with that individual, I would highly recommend that you reach out to those individuals and ask for their, assistance in whatever you're looking to help with. And start networking early, even before you look to move here, because you can build those connections up. You can ask questions about what should I bring, what to look out for, so on and so forth. And that's something that we can also provide in our consultations when you book in with us. Number three is that the hospitality here is next level. So guests are treated with warmth and generosity. They love the endless food, drinks, and just the culture that you have here in Serbia. And if you're refusing any food or rakia here by some of the local people, it could seem impolite. So if anyone ever offers you, come in for a coffee or have some food, it's better off to say, yeah, I'll stop in for, half hour, an hour, have a coffee, talk, because people here in Serbia, they really want to learn about you and why you come here, especially with so many foreigners coming into Serbia. It's something it's almost second nature and unheard of by a lot of people who have never left Serbia. Now, learning the language matters more than you think, which is our number 4 topic. The English here is widely spoken among the young Serbs. However, if you're dealing with government offices or people that are a little bit higher in age, that can be a little bit more difficult, especially when everything's written in the Cyrillic alphabet. Now, one thing that's beautiful about our team here at Relocation Serbia is we work with all English-speaking professionals. So if they don't have a fluent, consistent English vocabulary, we're not going to be working with them, because we don't want our clients to struggle. And it's already a struggle enough moving to one country, and now if you're trying to, figure out what's the other person's saying, that's going to make it that much more difficult. Of course, you're going to have Google Translate. You're going to have all these other apps that you can use to to communicate with other people. However, those apps don't always work correctly, especially when it comes to certain words and phrases that we use in the Serbian language as well. So, learning the basics, go to Teacher Boku Serbian Learning on YouTube. He can teach you some of the basics like hvala, molim, those things are like thank you, you're welcome type of thing. The number 5 thing that you need to understand is that cash is king in Serbia. All right, we are a very cash-friendly country here, and this is another thing that really our clients love coming into Serbia for, is because, for instance, if you're coming from Canada where everything's digital, or Australia where everything's becoming more digitized, the more digitized things are, the more that the government has control over you and your life. Look at what happened in the Freedom Convoy, for instance, in Canada in 2020, 2021. People's bank accounts were frozen, they were fined, had no access to actually buy groceries or support their family. Cash is king here, and so a lot of things are done, hand in hand, right? They don't want any paper trail. People and professionals love doing business with cash. You go to the farmers market, you go to a lot of the local businesses around here, and they do not have actual card swipes or tap machines or accepting of credit cards. It's cash, and if you don't have cash, they're not going to serve you. That's just how it is. And so it's quite often also that some of the ATMs will run out of money here in Serbia, especially on the weekends, because people are pulling their cash so that they can go use it. Credit cards are used, but depending on the business that you're using. And one pro tip that I would recommend is that you always have some dinars on you, or at least some euros, so that you can go to an exchange and get some dinars so that you can move forward in life. Number 6 is apartment hunting is a wild ride. Again, like I just said, cash is king here, and many landlords prefer their cash payment, their rental payments in cash. So that way, of course, I don't have to explain why they want cash. Contracts also can be vague, so that's why I would highly recommend that you find someone such as our team here that can review the contracts, make sure that they're beneficial for both parties, for the landlord and for yourself. And because a lot of the contracts are in Serbian, either the Latin or the Cyrillic, it's going to be hard to figure out, even though you can use a translator. And then, one thing to look into is what kind of heating they have. If it's electric heat, you're not going to want to pay that, because the rental cost does not include the cost of utilities. So make sure that you have someone by your side to make sure that they can ask the questions that need to be asked, especially if you're unfamiliar with the systems that they have here in Serbia. Number 7 is that the work culture here is very unique. In the West, we typically live to work, but here they almost work to live. The work comes second nature here, and so a lot of people aren't in a rush to get anything done for you at all. So depending on who you hire, they might take your money and you might not hear from them for 2 weeks. And then, especially if you're coming here looking for residency or a business setup and these things are time pressing, they don't understand that, especially if they've only been living in Serbia. And so there's a very one of those mentalities of like, we'll do it later type of attitude. Another thing is the work culture here in Serbia is a lot of the business is done in a kafana, right? I'm in a kafana right now. I'm doing my YouTube videos, and there's people here doing business as well. A lot of the businesses are done in restaurants and kafanas and not actually in the offices of their workplace, which is completely different from what is done in North America or some of the other countries around. The public transit system is cheap but also unpredictable. The buses here in Belgrade and Novi Sad. Belgrade is free from what I understand now. Novi Sad, you still have to pay, but you're not sure as to what schedule they are. There are some apps that you can use that you can download to help you out with finding that out, but you can also use services such as Cargo, which is like an alternative to Uber that we have in North America. Healthcare is also affordable, but also requires navigation, because not all healthcare providers provide the services that you look at. That's something that we can help you navigate as well. And so if you're looking for private healthcare, it's a lot faster than if you're to look at public healthcare as well. And then Serbia is addictive. That's the last one I want to say. A lot of the people that come here to visit to get an understanding of life here in Serbia often stay longer than they intended to, because they just love how free the country is, how the food is, the lifestyle is here, especially if you come from the West, where it's so much pressure on you on a daily basis, and you come here and see how relaxed everyone is, how easygoing everyone is, how the nightlife and social everyone is. It makes that very vibrant and affordable and loving, that you want to stay for a longer term. So make sure that you budget to stay here longer than you expected if it's your first time visiting Serbia. So I hope that gave you some tips. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave a comment in the comment section, hit that like button, and I'll see you on the next one.